In the quiet moments before the world wakes up, there's a place where pain meets peace, where every breath feels like a prayer and grief stands still. We carry the weight of what was and search for meaning in the smallest things. And sometimes all it takes is one moment to remind us we're still here, still healing.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Good Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. I am Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and yes, we are your number one podcast with brand new stories around death, dying, and grief, and all the messiness that comes in between, with some amazing people out here doing some amazing things, changing people's lives one heartbeat at a time. And as always, I have an amazing guest with me today. But before I introduce my friend and my brother, and, I want to say that this is a live stream. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, today's topic is one that, man, it's going to touch you. It's going to touch you, but also make you think about a lot of things too. When we think about sex trafficking, we often go to, or our minds often go to women, right? But what happens when there's a guy? Or what happens when you encounter someone who's gone through something similar, but may not understand what's going on with them, and they do some things, right? My friend Sean Wheeler is here today. Brother, thank you for being here today. Man, it's great to see you, man. It's really great to see you. So for you guys don't know, Sean and I have been knowing each other for quite some time now. His organization, Starfish Ministries, he's an advocate for people who have been sex trafficked, but more effectively, he advocates for men who are in the justice system, who are wrongly accused, who have a past of being sex trafficked as well. So, Sean, let's talk about this for a minute. Well, first, introduce yourself to the audience, man. Introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, like Tony said, we've been friends for quite some time. My name is Sean Wheeler. I provide a voice in the public sector in the fight against child trafficking for young men and boys. I am a survivor. I was trafficked, groomed around age 4, and in a network from age 5 to 10. And then we moved away from that town, but other predators still found me all the way up until age 19, when I finally moved my line and said, enough. And then I went silent for many, many years until I met my amazing wife, who, we were dating. She said, well, why are you pushing me away? And I said, you can't want somebody like me. I'm damaged goods. And she told me, God doesn't see you as damaged goods, and neither do I. And a year later, we were married, and we just celebrated 20 years. So,
congratulations.
All this stuff still makes me tear up, and I used to be embarrassed by that. I gave up. It's like I can't hold the tears back, because, God rescued me, set me on a purpose. And you're right. I work with victims, and I'm an advocate for victims and survivors, but I also go to the prison ministries to work with people who are either falsely accused or even convicted sex offenders. And I don't excuse what they did, but I tell them there's a hope in eternity, that's something better for you. You may never get out of prison, but eternity is a lot longer. Let Christ into your life and let him change it. Mm-hmm. And I had a man, one time I spoke before a group of all people who had been convicted. He came up to me and he said, how can a man like you forgive a man like me? And I said, because God forgives me. And I'm required, if I'm a follower of Christ, to forgive you. So he was in for possession of child pornography, which people call CSAM now. I don't really care. And I said, as a person who was maybe on the other side of that camera, I release you from that. Now, take it to the cross and get his forgiveness. And he was able to do that. So forgiveness is a powerful thing, as you well know.
It really is. And, those of us understanding, what that truly means to be, not only forgive yourself, but to be forgiven, right? And we've talked about this before. I wouldn't be sitting here if the creator didn't see me a value in me, right? And didn't um, forgive me for the things I've done, right? And none of us are perfect. That's why they said, what goes without sin, throw the first stone. I can't throw a stone.
Right.
I may not have done certain things, but I've done my fair share wrong, and I hold myself accountable for those things, right? Now, when you're tracking, or when you're talking to those individuals who have been trafficked, right? Is it always a similar thing of how it starts? Family members, friends of the family. I know we talked about this before, but I know that there's a commonality out there, right? From every last one of them. And I think once we can understand a commonality, we can also be aware of what to look for, right?
Yes.
So how does it normally start? Is it like friends, like I've seen the old, a long time ago, I used to see the old switcheroo. I'm gonna be nice to you, and then all of a sudden, here you go. Now I'm gonna show you this evil side of me, and then the control sets in, or the fear, right, or something like that sets in. What is it? And what is one of the common, or few of the common things that we can look out for?
I think, there is familial trafficking. I never experienced that. I did experience verbal and physical and emotional abuse at home. And the guy that ran the network was a business associate of my father. And what they typically look for is a vulnerable child, someone who doesn't feel loved or whatnot. And so he was certainly familiar with our house. There were older boys in our neighborhood who he got to befriend me. Well, when you're 4 and 5 and 18-year-olds want to play catch with you or think you're cool, that's pretty big stuff. And so eventually I was lured into a shed where I was molested by one guy the first time. And then after that, it was him and his 2 companions. And then after that, it was handed over to the network. And, realized many years later who was behind it all. And it was the business guy who'd been to our house. And it's like, okay, now it makes sense. To visit, he and his wife had come over and visit my parents. And I remember one time, no one was in the room, and he groped me and he said, "I'll see you later, little boy." And how they controlled me was the second time with the older boy and his 2 friends. I fought him back. A 5-year-old can't fight very hard against 3, 17, 18-year-olds. So they beat me into submission, and I tell people that's when I lost my voice. I lived in fear because they said, "Well, kid, you're done. Your family won't want you anymore. You're too corrupt. Even God doesn't want you." And a little kid believes these things, all of which, by the way, was a big lie of the enemy. It's like God was very much there. And people have asked me that too. Where was your God when they were doing that to you? And during those 5 years, 3 times there was a threat to cut my throat and just leave my little self somewhere where no one would have found me. And they didn't do it. So God was there because I am here.
It brings up a lot, right? And I often share my experience. My 6 years old neighbor, his mom and my mom were best of friends. Miss Gwen, we used to go over to her house, and when we needed something, Miss Gwen, baby, come on, do it. And so you never really think about it. And back then, my sister was 4 years old. Here I am, 6 years old, and I just wanted to play He-Man and skateboard with my friends, draw, something like that. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. So when it happened to me, I went, I don't like it. Now, the problem is that I did eventually try to tell someone. I tried to tell my family. I said, you know what? He did this.
Yeah.
And I was told. And I don't know if this is something common that people, that happens. But when I was told, they were like, boy, men don't do that to boys. And, you need to stop lying. And, you need to just, make sure you take care of your sister and do all of these different things. All those things happen. But then what happened, and I tell people, this is where everything changed for me, right? And I was able to hide it so much. The second time that it happened, I said, it's not going to happen again. So I started thinking to myself, if they're capable, if he's capable of doing this to me, then I have to be worse than him. So it's that old saying, when you're being threatened by something, you have to be able to threaten it back, right? And so I understood just within that short amount of time that this is a predator. I need to be an apex predator. Right. So remember when we talked a long time ago and you was like, you probably fought back. Yes, I did. I just didn't say anything because I had to think about that for a minute. I was like, I tried to take a man's life because I told him, I was like, okay, when you try to do it the next time after that. And of course, it made me feel every time mom had to go to work, or when mom went to work, it made me feel like they were handing me over on a silver platter and there was nothing I can do.
Yeah.
Right. Because he said the same thing. Go ahead, say something. I'll hurt your sister and this, that, and another. And I'm thinking to myself, like, no, you're not. You're not going to hurt my sister. So when he tried to do it the last time, I had a remember those little pocket knives?
Right.
Yeah, the ones that we used to get when we were kids and stuff like that. I had one of them. And so, when he went to go do it again, I turned around and I took the knife and I stuck it in his stomach. And I moved it up a little bit. And I told him, I said, go ahead and scream. I dare you. Because then when you scream and they come up here, you have to explain why my clothes ain't on.
Yeah.
And why your pants are down. And he looked at me. I said, so please scream. As soon as you do, they're going to believe me. My family's going to kill you. Yeah. I said, but I'm going to give you the choice that you didn't give me. Leave me alone. Leave my sister alone. Or I will kill you. Yeah. And that was the last time he touched me, because then after that, I was like, no one's ever going to hurt. I made a promise at 6 years old that no one was ever going to hurt me ever again. Yeah. So I watched the people on the streets because I knew what they were doing, selling drugs, and most of them had killed people before, and it was just a different sort of environment. So I learned from there, and I know a lot of people aren't so lucky. Yeah, right. A lot of people aren't so lucky to come out that end. In those situations, and I want to talk about the prostitution and the sex industry in general. And you may know a little bit more about that than I do. But and again, when I say this is my own thoughts and opinions, and it could be a matter of choice, right? But some of the people that I used to know a long time ago, they were all call girls and prostitutes, things like that. Most of them had been trafficked or had gotten involved with pimps at a very early age.
Yeah.
And had just been conditioned to that lifestyle.
Yeah, that's very common. Just like it's very common what you said, that the family didn't believe you. Or the other reaction, which is not uncommon, is they do believe you, and God knows we don't want this getting out into the community.
Yeah.
And so it's, what about helping your child? And, that kind of thing. So it is very common what you experienced. I was told they wouldn't believe me, and I believed them, but there were, it was a different situation for me. And I thank God that you were able to do what you were able to do, but obviously it left an impact on your life. So,
yeah. But that's I didn't understand the impact that it had on my life until much later in life, right? Because after that, and you're right, Lane, That's my man LC right there. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for tuning in, brother. You know what I'm saying? He says there are so many that don't even tell anyone. And you're absolutely right, because I think a lot of it is because of shame.
Most boys do not report.
Right, because of shame. Right. Just like, if there's something wrong with me, or did I do something,
Was it my fault?
Was it my fault? This, that, and other, right? But I think it's common across the board. Everybody's saying the same thing. It's just coming from different people. Mm-hmm. Like, just because I don't look like the female over here doesn't mean that I don't feel the same way.
Exactly. And
right?
That's why I tell people statistics are never a good barometer, because until all victims are actually counted, the statistics are simply a guess at best. But, and most males don't report. And even today, I work with many who tried to report and they met with hostility.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to take resources away from women and girls. It's like, no, I'm trying to shine another bright light on a subject, and 2 lights takes out more of the darkness.
Yes.
And don't tell me that I don't count because I happen to be a male. So, because I point out victims and predators come from both genders, and they can come from any racial or economic background.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, here we are. And by the way, you know how people can tell that we're actually brothers? We have the same hair. I told my friend Thomas in Kenya that when I was over there working on prison ministry, and I told the prisoners, I said, we actually have the same mom. And they're like, really? And I said, because we have the same hair, and we're both blonde. And they that was good. You have to throw levity into it, and I try that. I need to, because it is a hard story to share. I mean, I was used in child pornography, or what people call child sexual abuse material, at age 7 with another girl and a boy, 2 men and a woman. And by the way, women are predators too. Probably 35-40% of people who got near the preteen were women. And then I was used in satanic ritual abuse, and I got to a point where I just learned to believe this is what grown-ups get to do. And, I didn't know I had a choice, and I finally found out I did have a choice. But, and now that's why I fight back. I said, let's not focus on statistics, which are ridiculous. Let's focus on victims. And by the way, every statistic has a name. I have a name. I'm not a number. Yeah, you have a name. You're not a number. So,
and to add to that, right? Because you're absolutely right. I have, we're all, every face has a name to it, right? And it's okay to call them by their name, because if you could take the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual impact that something like that has on an individual, right? There's a lot of layers that we have to unfold, and as we become adults, right? Just like you had said earlier, when someone may see us as the most beautiful thing in the room, the most valuable thing in the room, right? And knows, and they see the pain, they see the hurt that we carry, and they just want to be a part of it without judgment, and they nurture that part. Your wife and everything. When you first met, you said you don't want to love somebody who's broken like me. I've met so many people since I've actually started talking about what had happened to me, being very open and honest about it. Like, no, I didn't like it, right? But it changed me in a way to where I didn't care.
Yeah.
I became very violent. I became very violent against other people who did it, right? I became very violent to just people around me. Like, there was a part of me that just was like, if I knew that you did it, I was coming for you.
Yeah.
I was going to come for you, right? And I wasn't going to be that guy that come up there, I need to talk to you. No, You saw me coming for you. I'm coming to bust your head open.
Yeah, that's not an image I want to picture.
Well, and you know, when you're young and you learn how to move in silence, right? But when you have certain things happen to you, you become very observant. Like, you know, like you said, you can spot them now, right? That dude right there, there's something wrong with that person right there, right? You know, and when it comes down to it, I would look at you and go, which one? That one right there? Okay, then you need to come with me. You just stay over here. I got you. Right? But most people don't have that. A lot of people don't have that, right? Then you turn out so many tones, right? And what I mean by that, you turn into the violent dude that don't care nothing about nobody.
Yeah.
Right? That's just used to being alone. Just not no sort of empathy or sympathy towards anyone. Just like it's just a game of survival, right? And when you do those things, when you get into survival mode, people don't understand this whole term. Get it how you live it, right? And from selling drugs to other things as well. You realize that sometimes you're not any better than a person than the people that you're doing it to.
Yeah. You know, I look at my own life, and often children who are abused as preteens become extremely promiscuous teenagers. I was, but I wore two faces. My family had no clue. And I just didn't care. Just once adolescence hit, it's like, I want to enjoy my life. And it just, it is what it often becomes, male or female. Abused little kids all just become promiscuous. That's why when I talk to people about pornography, for example, a group I work with in LA called Fight the New Drugs, they would point out that most adult film stars were abused as kids. So, yeah. And so, it's sad and hurtful to hear this part of your story. Just like I know mine's a challenge too. But I mean, look at us today. We're proof that God, like he told Joseph, he said, "I will take what was meant for your harm and turn it to good."
Yeah,
and here we are. Because I mean, I grew up a fairly privileged background family, and even when my parents divorced, we never really wanted for anything. And you grew up in Watts, I think, in LA.
No, I grew up in Newport, Virginia, but I have been through Watts and everything else. But it's the same thing. I grew up in the projects.
Right.
And that's honestly when all of that had happened, I really just turned, just like you said, I lived a double life. On one section, I'm a straight A student in school. I'm a mom and my dad's son. I am my sister's older brother. I am a grandson. I am a nephew. I'm a cousin, right? So I'm the guy that mom said, hey, you go take out such and such trash. So, every Saturday and Sunday morning, my responsibilities was when I got up was to go to the elderly in the neighborhood and take their trash out. And you better not ask for money, right? Right. And when you're so young, and things like that, those are good things to have because it teaches you respect and responsibilities for others. And on the other side of there, I used to just look at the drug dealers and everybody else out on the street and go, and I look at their shoes and I look at mine, I go, I'm still wearing Payless penny loafers. He got on some Timberlands.
Man.
Now I can't go get the Timberlands because if I come up with Timberlands, mom's is going to get mad at me. But what I can do is that the next time that we go to Payless, instead of getting the $5 shoes, I'm gonna get the $20 shoes. You see, so I'm not really doing too much because I'm still putting money in mom's dresses, so she don't know, right? She just thinks dad is putting it in there. I got to put the cover up. I'm selling drugs. Dad goes to work. Mom is drunk most of the time. I can put the money in there and then convince her to buy me the $20 pair of shoes.
You know, it's such an amazing thing, the challenges we grow up
Yeah.
with, because, you know, even though I tell people look at me and they assume that I've had this wonderful life, and it's and I've had a lot of blessings, you know, and but the thing I craved most at home was just to feel loved. I had one grandmother used to say, "You almost killed your mother when you were born." It reminded me of that frequently. It wasn't supposed to happen, and eventually I learned God don't make no mistakes.
Mm.
And I don't even think she meant it that way. It was just sort of matter of fact to her. But you know, when you're a little kid, you think you're a mistake. Then, and I was among my siblings sort of the one they always targeted, and that's who the predators look for, the target child.
Mm.
They look for the kid who's most vulnerable, who just wants to be loved. And they convinced me too that what they were doing to me and they were making me do to them, and for them, was a form of love. And then you got to be a teenager, you think, well, it's fake love, and I thought, well, fake's better than nothing. And then I got to be a young adult and said, I'll take nothing over fake. and then decades later, Susan came around, and I discovered what true love is. God's love is real and pure and true and eternal, and applies as much to you as it does to me. And so, even while we have these diverse backgrounds, we're incredibly good friends. I do work in the Watts area now today with Dream Center in LA. I met a guy down there. He looks he's like a black Elvis, and he sings beautifully. He's like, just you're welcome down here anytime because we know who you are. Just don't wear that red shirt again. Red. He's like, son, let me tell you. And so he explained, it's like, okay, so I wear the blue Dream Center shirt, but I have that shirt on. People know me. They know you're with the Dream Center. I'm totally safe down there.
Yeah.
You know, and the LAPD would say, you know, that's Crips territory. It's like, I don't care. It's God's country. And they know that. And so, you know, I get out of work with people with the Dream Center, and my friend had connected with him on Facebook, but it's like, you really think I look like Elvis? And it's like, yep. I love that. But I mean, it's just proof that they're hard stories to listen to. I mean, I don't remember how many people hurt me, and it's a rare day when I don't relive those events. But I put it in context now. You're not there anymore. And honestly, if I forget what it was God rescued me from, then I mean, then what's the point? And Second Corinthians says that we are to take what God helped us through and help others go through the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I do speak. I do cry when I speak. I mentioned Kenya. I was there last May. I went into 5 Kenya prisons, and crying my eyes out in front of inmates, and they're like, we never expected someone here to come halfway around the world and see us who isn't ashamed of tears. And I said, that's right, because remember the Bible says God collects your tears in a bottle and remember each one. Yeah. And the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. So in that he shared our humanity. And that verse in Psalm only talks about a bottle. So your tears and mine are the same bottle as Christ. And that's powerful healing.
It is. It is. You know, I think part of the story, I want to talk about the controversial part as well, because I think people need to understand, right? Because if we can go out here and we start hurting people for the things that they do and not truly understand, for me, there's no justification. I want to be totally right about you if I'm going to do something to you, because, you know, because I don't want to carry the burden of hurting someone who's been hurt themselves. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, most of the people, or most of the individuals that are convicted on the charges of sexually exploiting a child.
Yeah.
Right, men or women.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times, and I could be wrong because we talked about this earlier. There are bad people that really deserve to be be locked up, and then have the head bashed in. But then there's are the ones who have been discarded. Now this is a two-part question because is it easy for the people who are doing this to you to just discard you once they're done with you? First question. And the second one is when it comes down to those young men and women that are being tossed back out there into the streets and they're looking for a family and they repeat what's already been happening to them, how do we approach that situation with them without truly understanding? Because we look at the charge and we automatically think, I'm going to do something bad to you, right? Like we don't want to hear what you need to say. And this comes from somebody who's been in prison, been around other people, and really may have judged people wrong. Although I can't condone what you just done. I can't condone, hurting of a child or hurting of a woman, right? But also, and this came from you. It made me start thinking like, who hurt this individual to make them think that this was okay? Because they're operating as if this is such a normal thing. And I think we are not looking at that like this. We know that this is not normal. But when a person operates like that, like they're like, well, you know what? It must be okay because it was done to me. So I should be able to go out there and do this, right? So, how do we approach these situations, my brother?
Well, it's a two-part question, and the answer to the first one, do you get discarded? I think people in the sort of predatory mindset are all about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And one time after a guy had finished, an older man had finished using me sexually, he got mad or something. I don't know if I said something, but he backhanded me and knocked me over and said, worthless little boy. And even at 7 or 8, I had in my mind, I wasn't worthless 2 minutes ago. Because that's when he was using,
Mm-hmm.
So they have this tremendous amount of guilt, I guess, or anger, or rage, or whatever. So I do think it sees people as an object. That's why I say pornography is bad. Some people want to say, well, no, all you're doing is looking at somebody else as an object for their own personal gratification.
Yeah.
And I was addicted to pornography. It starting at age 6 and 7 when I was shown it and used it. So I know what it does to mine. I'm not proud of that, but I'm also not ashamed now to say, it's an easy addiction. Now, how we approach others, that's a tough one. There are people I've encountered in prisons who had no past like that and just wanted to tell me, let me tell you what I would have done at 9. It's like, no, I get to walk away. And I pray for you, but not with us. But that's not the vast majority. Every person that I've actually spent time talking with having had either a similar story to me or a much worse story. And some of them started in infancy. When you're brought up to think this is normal, your mind, like you said, tells you it's normal. It's not. And they probably shouldn't ever be out of prison. But how can I hate someone who lived through the same hurt that I did? I just can't. It's not inside of me.
Right.
So I tell people, anytime you encounter anyone coming out of prison, well, first I like to say, look, you want to bash the men or the women on occasion, but you want to bash guys in prison for something, just remember one thing. Somewhere there's a mom that goes to bed at night with tears in her eyes because she can't understand how her child ended up there. You're hurting her, and she doesn't deserve that additional guilt or dads. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is I tell people, look, remember 3 things. You don't know how hard the enemy hit them. You don't know how hard they fought back. You don't know what you would have done. And I've had people say, I would have never done that. I said, you don't know.
Yeah.
I was forced to oral sex at 5 years old. That's what I was made to do. And it turned me into an angry kid, you know. And who knows? But unless you had it happen to you, you can't know what your feelings would have been because it's a possibility. But yes, I believe people can change. I believe the Holy Spirit can change people. Yes, absolutely. Does that necessarily mean they belong out of prison? In many cases, probably not. But my friend Bruce that I've told you about was in Sing Sing prison for 29 years and finally let out because the DNA set him free. He knew David Berkowitz, son of Sam. He said, yeah, he's a changed man. He's truly a solid Christian. And he said, he doesn't even go to his parole hearings. He said, I did what I did and I deserve to be here, but I can do more for the cause of God here inside the prison than I can getting out. Mm. And yet there's still people in those victims' families who hold on to this hate every day. And I tell people, holding on to hate and unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping the other person die. Yeah, it's only hurting you.
Now, there's another side to it because I totally agree with what you just said right there, right? And you also said something as well. You don't know how deep the scars go, right? You don't know how it really affected them. It's easy for us to look on the outside, from the outside, and look in and see what we want to see. But all of it is subjective and it's perception, and it's up for different interpretations, unless the person that's actually going through it really opens up and reveals to you what's truly going on with them.
And they may not know.
Right. And they may not know, right?
I have dissociative identity disorder, which basically blocked a lot of those things.
Right.
I always knew they were there, but I never.
Right.
And people say, oh, that's weird. And it's like, well, yes, I have, but all the personalities, if you want to call them that, are me at different ages. I don't have like a 12-year-old girl, a 9-year-old guy. They're all just me at different ages.
Right. It's different versions of yourself, right? You know what I'm saying? It's just different versions of yourself. And most of it, depending on how deep you are into your survival, right, it's called self-preservation.
Yeah.
And you do whatever you need to do in order to make sure that you are preserved. It's not necessarily keeping you safe, but we have a strange way of just blocking it out and saying, okay, this is just how it is. And then when everything is said and done, you go on about your way as if nothing happened, right? Because for one, you've been conditioned that it's normal. Mm-hmm. Two, if you just walk away like nothing's ever happened or anything like that, you don't risk someone else getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right? Like someone else that you're close to, because the things that they say to you is still embedded inside of there. And the mind would say, okay, well, you know what? Let's go to jail. Let's go finish being a child, right? We'll deal with this later on.
Yeah.
Type thing. Right? And I remember the first time that we had met, we talked and, really got into sharing each other's stories and everything. It dawned on me. It really dawned on me the many things, although I've always I consider myself now to be a better man than what I used to be. Am I perfect? By no means, but I've been forgiven.
That's right.
And I do good things. I try to do good things in the world for other people, and in the name of servitude.
You're a work in progress.
I'm a work in we're all works in progress, right?
So is everyone else if they're honest.
If they're honest, and that's the part about it, is that a lot of people aren't honest. So sometimes we don't all speak the same language, although we may be saying the same things, right? It's just like I have a friend of mine. I would say something, and he'd go, no, and he'd come back and say the same thing, just in a different way, and I sit back and look at him and go, you do realize we're saying the same thing. You do realize that, right? Just because I don't speak like you do, does not mean that I'm not saying the same things that you are. Or maybe you're doing it because you want to see if you can get a rise out of me, and I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got some people out here that just have to be right. You have to be wrong. Their words have to be the end all to all, right? And I sit around and I'm just like, this is the reason why I don't talk to nobody.
It's they take the position that when I'm wrong, the world makes less sense.
Right. And they have to be able to justify what they're doing, and I say that's being narcissistic, right? But just like you said, the son of Sam, there, and this is just me. This is just me. When it comes down to psychopaths and sociopaths, right, and which still relates to your human traffickers out there, right? Because it takes a different breed of person to really think and justify something like that, right? Especially if you're the head. Because it all has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
It is passed down. And as they say, birds of a feather flock together. Right? Birds of a feather flock together. And I know that not every last one of them have experienced that. Like the idea had to come from somewhere where someone was like, I don't see nothing wrong with it. We might as well do it. And if we're going to do it, we might as well do it to your child too.
Yeah. I remember that one time I was in a car with 3 adults, and one of the guys said, well, whose kid is he? The other one said, I don't know, and I don't really care. He's not mine. Because then, you go back to seeing a child as an object. So,
yeah. He's not mine, so it doesn't matter. Like, and that those people, like that's what we was talking about before. With those people like that, those are the ones I come after, and I just look at them and go, yeah, no, you're not my friend, so I don't really care, right? So it's like payback. Now it's not. Please don't look at me and be like, don't even like no. But to be honest with you, I know a lot of us will and have said that before. Right, you know what I'm saying? Especially when we think about what it does to not only our society but our families, but our children that are being brought up inside of these things like that. Now, 2 wrongs don't ever make right, so I never suggest going out there being violent towards anyone.
Yeah, let the system, if you know,
if you know it,
and let the system deal with them. And in the prison, as you well know, it may deal with them in a harsh way. And there are some of these guys who deserve that.
Oh yeah.
One of the priests who was arrested in Boston under the Catholic Church scandal, and it's not just happening in the Catholic Church or any other faith, it's happening everywhere. But he got into prison and he bragged to his cellmate. He said, he was totally unrepentant. This was a former priest. He said, I'm worth more than 300 of them. And his cellmate who had been convicted, given 2 life sentences on both on murder charges, said, I have had enough. And he killed him in the cell. He said, did you give me another life sentence? Big deal. What are you going to do?
But you going to bury me out there? No, okay, I wasn't leaving anyway.
I'm not going to sit here and listen to this man. That man was totally unrepentant, but the vast majority I've worked with are now. And they would like to be out. It's like you may or may not be ready to be out. Some I think can, many I don't think should. That's really not my call. I'm not a psychologist, but I do say, look, wherever you are put with God, you can serve God anywhere. And remember, eternity is forever. Put your life in His hands, and this time on earth will become as almost nothing, a drop of water in the ocean, potentially. Because what's more important? Some do. Many don't go under their defend. There's an assumption that they all will. But they learn, I don't know what they learn, if they learn to control it or whatever, or I just believe God can change people, but I think even change people may still need to be behind bars, because even though they've changed, they don't have self-control.
This is very true. And it was very true. And I still got your book down there too. I don't know if you see it right there. Yes, I do. If you pull that out, can you pull grab that book for me?
It's
So everybody, if you do get a chance, go get this book read. My brother, my friend wrote this. And it's his story of being trafficked from an early age, even into the military too, right? Like,
Yeah, the last time I was assaulted was my first military duty station.
okay.
So
Now, I'm gonna let you hold this. Tell the people, explain your books to you.
well, I basically when I started counseling, my connected church counselor to the church, and she said, "Can you talk?" And I said, "Not without crying all over the place." She said, "Can you write?" Writing I can do. I have a degree in journalism. So she would have me then write down the answers to the following questions and come back next week, and then we talked. And I went back and I'm reading verbatim, word for word. She's over there doing her needle thumbing. She's like, "No, I see you one day sharing your testimony and writing a book." And I said, "No, no, and no." Said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "You just taught me about a God who whispered and made the sun. He could make all this go away and give me a normal life." She said, "Yes, he could." And I see you writing a book and sharing your testimony. And I did write the book. The book is about the challenges I went through in the counseling process, and then the end result. It talks about spiritual warfare. There are people who don't believe in it. Believe me, when I tell them demons don't exist, I've seen them up close and personal. I've seen angels too. And so, it's like they do, whether you choose to believe or not, it's your business, but don't tell me what I have to believe. And so, that's what the book covers. And then it was published in 2016. I've done a lot since then. I formed Starfish in 2018. And my former counselor just laughed. She said, "You the guy who wouldn't speak. How many people have heard your story globally now?" I said, "Around 6 million.
Yeah,
150
you've been all over the world.
It's like, man,
We talk about blessing, man. Like every time I turn around and I see something else, so you're the soup standing up on stage doing something,
it's crazy. It's people have asked me, they told me, "Well, you found your purpose. How do I know what my purpose is?" This is church people. So your purpose is to glorify God. Well, what do you mean? So whatever you do, whatever your work is, whatever your life and passion is, you can glorify God. And I said, "You want a detailed answer? Ask. But be prepared for an answer you do not want." Because he came back to me, told me very clearly, he told me, "You were on the prison ministry. You're going to share your story on a public platform. You're going to cry your eyes out." And it's like, this is not what I wanted. And yet I found my purpose, and I've never done anything that's been more fulfilling.
I can agree. I definitely can attest to that right there, right? Because considering what we was at back in 2020,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. 2020, 2019, maybe. So
20, yeah, because I just started my organization. I think it was 20. I want to say it was 2020, because it was during lockdown.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When we were all over. When I met you, we was over at
House and Neighborhood.
yeah, HNS. And looking back on it now, right, starting off the way that most things do, and we've seen each other's journeys and how it has manifested itself throughout our travels, and our journey of just becoming and learning and understanding what this gift is that's been given to us, right? But also taking all of the things that come along with it, the pain, and turn it around and saying, "I can use this in a way to be beneficial to someone else," right? You know, just like understanding human trafficking is your gift, because you've had in-depth experience with it. Grief has been mine, and thousands of people across the world, and I travel and do guest speaking. And to be honest with you, I had glimpses of it, but I never thought that I was going to do it. Because I was the type of one, I was the one who's like, I'm an introvert. You have no idea. I am not trying to be up on stage. And I tried for the longest time, which we all seen the failures of Tony being over at HNS and some of the things that has happened, which was just interesting and funny in the same sense, because when we think about it, the creative moves in very mischievous ways.
Yeah, I'm by nature a piper and an extrovert. I have tons of energy. And you know, my wife, Susan, she's very much quiet, introvert. I had her in, I was speaking at a university in Dallas. I said, asked her beforehand, I said, dear, you want to come up on the platform? Knowing full well the answer, because I do have an organ side. She's like, yeah.
Talk about honoring.
And I said, well, I have to tell them you're here. So she said, I will raise my hand so people see me in the audience, but I do not wish to be on a platform. And that's her gift, but she's a powerful prayer warrior. She's the one who led me to do it. I tell her, she says, I really don't do much for you. I said, well, were it not for you, I wouldn't be doing anything. I might have in fact been dead because I was tired of being alive.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that's a lot. But it's funny, I've got partnered this because I'm the dreamer, the visionary. She's the practical side. It's like, how are we going to pay for that? Well, I don't know. Like, so
It's a humbling experience.
it is.
It's definitely a humbling experience. Let me ask you a question, right? You know, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Did you ever think that you would be as big as you are today?
No.
Because there's talk of doing a movie as well, right?
Yeah, the book is in third of the way through a screenplay writing process, and as soon as we find a production partner that will work with us, and we may, you know, then there's talk about turning it into a full-blown script and then a feature film. Sound of Freedom, I point out, you know, some people say, oh, it was QAnon was behind this. Like QAnon had nothing to do with it. And it was all, and it's been fact checked, and like 85% of it is the truth. And so, you know, and it cost them, I think, about 42 million, 45 million to make it. And it grossed over 600 million worldwide in the box office. So that's where the studios take the chance. Now, my producer working on it said, yeah, we're up to about a $40 million project. It's like, where the heck do we get 40 million? He said, the studio has it. But keep in mind, they keep 75% of the take. And they put out all the rest. Yeah, I'm fine with that. If the message gets out, see, because a lot of people think trafficking only happens in the third world. It only happens to, you know, kids coming up over the border. And there was a State Department report released before the current administration under the last one that said 345,000 migrant children are missing. We have no idea where the hell they are. That's kids brought up. Now, I've had other people in law enforcement telling and American kids who brought taken south. Now, the thing with me was, for some odd reason, I also learned one of the reasons that I may have been targeted because I had jet black hair when I was a little kid. That's a picture of me on the back at 9.
Okay.
And people thought I was half Asian and half white. And for some reason, mixed race kids are considered a premium often. I don't know why, or a different race. But in my experience, most predators go after kids in their own race. So, you know, I think maybe it's just a familiarity or something. I'm not sure. I could be totally wrong because, again, we don't know who all the victims are.
But you don't even know who all the players are.
No.
You know what I mean? The biggest thing right now is the whole Epstein list, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, if it's ever revealed to the people, I think we're really going to be shocked about who's all in there.
Yeah.
Maybe not, though.
I don't know that we will.
I don't think we're all going to be shocked about it, right?
I actually talked to all people, to Sean Hannity last week, and said, you know, when this list comes out, I only have one request. And I said, you've been saying it, and I appreciate that you do. The names of the victims need to be redacted.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who say, no redactions. No, those names, most people who are survivors don't want to do what I do. They live with it, they get help with it, but they don't want to stand up and talk about it.
Right.
And I don't blame them.
Right.
So you keep
It should be an option.
Yeah.
It should be an option. Like if you would like to come up, then yeah. If not, okay, we're going to let you do you.
I mean, I would almost tell them, contact them all. Say, we have this, we're redacting all the names. If you want to identify yourself as one of those redacted names, you're free to do so, but we're just taking them all out. And that way we can say we took them all out and the individual can decide if they want to reveal it later. Most people don't want to, especially male survivors.
I can understand that.
And I can understand that. And, you know, you talked about deep scars earlier. When I was 7 and used in the ritual abuse, I had observed someone killed in front of me, and it was a child. There's a sacrifice on an altar. And that scar took a long time to work through. And so,
hold on, because that, I think what you just said right there, that hurt, right? Because we hear about sacrifices.
yeah,
And most people that hear things like that, like, we're not back in the 1800s. People don't sacrifice other people, etc. And confirm, they do.
yeah.
Sure.
You know, I mean, people still laugh today about the big satanic scare of the 80s and early 90s. Well, a lot of that was going on, and a lot of it's still going on, but it's under cover. And that's who it was a satanic group, you know. So, I mean, yeah, are there fakes out there? Probably. But when I hear people mock it today, saying it doesn't happen, it's like, no, it does. And I remember that place. I think it was 7 or 8. And so, you know, that's the kind of thing that keeps a kid quiet. When you see that happen to another kid, you know they mean business.
Yeah, they're not. See, and it goes down to, you know, something someone told me, and I know that is true. Even a serial killer got somebody that loves him.
Yeah.
Right. And I say that to say this because this leads me into 2 different directions. You know, how are they getting to our children? But common sense would say that most of them, you know, it's being revealed now that most the teachers being caught, right? You know what I'm saying? The students are stepping up and saying, "Oh, no, she did this," and it's mostly females that's in the school system that's doing it, right? And you're like, okay. And every time I see that, I think about you. I'm like, I wonder if Sean sees this. I wonder if he sees this right here, because I know this is one of those things that if we can start to put together, even connect the dots in this general area right here, it may lead to other places like. And look, not saying that it's going to be this way, but this is just an idea. Maybe it's in our police systems, because we hear about that too.
Oh yeah.
Right? Maybe it's, you know, we already know it's in our government, but maybe we can start uncovering those family secrets. Because one thing that I found out when I got older, the guy who got me, right? I was one of the lucky ones, because I stood up and I told him, you know, and I meant every word of it. I was going to kill him if you ever touch me again. And as a child, you don't think about the ones that come after you.
Yeah.
Right? I heard the guys in jail to this day having a wonderful time. I bet you won't touch nobody else. I bet you won't touch anybody else. But I found out, I was talking to a family member, and I was telling them about this because I thought it was time that they knew why I was the way I was. Why I was so violent, why I chose to leave home, why I chose the path that I, you know, along with God's help, you know, the path that I've been on. Why I never asked nobody for anything. Why I've always been the type that go, I'll figure it out type thing. I don't want nobody to come and save me, you know, because you wasn't there when I was a child.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this family member, and they said, "Oh yeah, you know, such and such son. That's why we always kept the kids away from him." This was the 80s. This was the early 80s when this happened. This is 20. You mean to tell me y'all knew the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
But then I started thinking, I went, how many times it's been right in front of us where you hear a family member go, "Hey, where's the kids at?" Oh yeah, well they were. Oh no, go get the kids with you. You know we don't leave the kids around here.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't leave the. And then you realize that they've known this whole time.
Yeah. See, and I learned that from something my father said before he passed away, that my parents were aware of something. My mom would never talk about it. And my dad, his only thing he ever said to me was, "You were so little, we thought you would have forgotten all about that by now." And he wouldn't tell me what else he knew. And he passed away. And so it's up to God if he chooses to reveal that to me. What they were aware of. I have.
I think you have an idea though.
I do, and I love and have forgiven them and loved them. Was able to forgive them both before they both passed away. But it's betrayal. And so my answer to people is, we know someone personally now, in Christ, who understands betrayal real well. The only one ever qualified to throw a stone chose not to. And he stood on that platform with Barabbas. And the crowd mocked him, knowing full well what he had done. And, but Jesus understood the love of the Father. He knew that God had to treat Jesus like Barabbas so that he could treat Barabbas like Jesus. And that's where I go. It's like, yeah, I now know they do something. What? I have no clue. Maybe I'll get to heaven and find out. Maybe by that point it won't matter.
You know what? Honestly, I don't think it matters now, right? Because I see the amazing man in front of me, my brother, not only in life but in Christ, right? And what you're doing and how many lives you're changing and helping people helping those men out there that are ashamed to understand. I remember you telling me a story one time, a young kid went to jail, right? And he was telling them, like these things had happened to him, but I think he was already charged with the sex crime, I believe. And you went up to him, and I still remember this because it makes me smile every time I think about this. And that guy was like, "No one believed me." And you stood up and said, "I believe you." And you changed that kid's life.
Yeah.
So I look at I listen to what you said, and I look at the amazing person that's sitting here right now, and I go, it don't really matter anymore. We can't change the past.
No, but you can change your destiny.
But you can change your destiny. And even see, the people that know about it are the ones who have to deal with what they know, because they still allowed it. They go on.
Yeah.
So that burden is not yours. That's theirs.
You were never meant to carry that.
Right. It's not yours. It's theirs, because for one, if you pass away and that's the only thing that you say, or even if you even walk around still living with what you know about what's going on, and you choose not to do anything about it, I'm sorry, you're just as guilty as the people that's doing it, because you can prevent it.
Yes. Turning away in the face of evil is like committing.
Exactly. You might have went on and committed that crime yourself, right?
And I mean, again, I'm older, and so what happened to me happened in an era when people didn't think about that. There was certainly no laws against it. It was probably I know it's been around for centuries, and so it's not like it's a new thing. But yeah, I don't have any animosity towards them. Either of my parents now. They're and my one aunt said, "Yeah, you went from being a sweet little boy to an angry little boy overnight. We thought you were just mad because of all the fighting going on in your home," which I'm sure had an impact on it. But that's
well, I wonder. I wonder with all the fighting and stuff like that. You said two things. I don't want to say too much about it, but what if that's what they were fighting over?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
You see what I'm saying? Like immediately, I'm like,
that's an interesting thought.
Like, what if they were fighting over it because mom is like, we need to tell somebody, and dad is like, we can't.
Yeah,
because of these people been in our home. And they got what if those individuals had something over them?
Yeah,
and they're forced to go, I have to let them do this. And I have to live with the fact that I know that they're doing this. And I can't say nothing. That right there is your eternal hell. That is your eternal hell. It is. Because you have to live and die with that right there every day and every night that you're living and for the rest of your life that you're not.
Unless you take it to God. And there's only one unforgivable sin in the Bible. And I tell people, you know, that I did horrific things. Okay, take it to God.
See, that's what I agree with you, but I may want to put a little twist on it, right? Because I remember reading when Jesus said, those that hurt a child should have a millstone set around their neck, right, and thrown into the sea of fire for eternal life, right? Okay, come on. Let's dump you in. Bye bye. Yeah, that's me.
Those are people that I agree. They're like the offenders that I met who are totally unrepentant. Mm-hmm. People who are like, yeah, and I do it again. Those are the people who are destined for that millstone.
See, those are people that need to be put in the prisons with lifers.
Yeah, like that.
Like, I'm serious. Like, if you go in there and they have the same mentality that you just said, like, I would do it again. Take them and put them over there with the lifers, the ones who have nothing to lose. Just, I don't know, open up a door and just like a herd of sheep or something like that. Just herd them all in there.
You know, right? And I'm sure many of them maybe had the same experiences. There's some people I've talked to who had nothing like that happen to them. They just wanted to do it. And they were unrepentant about it. Those are the people I believe are destined for the millstone.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like, it's something in them that say, it must be okay.
The two men on the cross beside Jesus, the one said, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he told his friend, he said, if you're the Son of God, take yourself down from here. And the first guy was like, we deserve to be here. We did what we did. He was repentant. The other one's like, screw you. Mm-hmm. And one went to paradise. The other went the other way. So there's an example. It's not for me to judge because only God knows somebody else's heart. I can use discernment. There are people who've looked at me and I could just tell they were trying to picture me at 8 or 6 or whatever. And it's like, I don't need to stand here anymore. I'm going. And I will go. But the vast majority I work with are people who's like, I hurt so bad because I was hurt so bad and I hurt others so bad, and how do I put it all together? He's like, you can't, but God can. Yeah. And you may never get out. You may get killed in prison. But if you have a relationship with Christ, you have an eternal home with Him. That's very true. And I can't, that's as far as I got to go for judgment, because every day mistakes. Yeah. Remember David. God said David is a man after my own heart, yet he killed his best friend so he could sleep with his wife. Mm-hmm.
And then God took that kid and gave him another. So the forgiveness is there, Forgiveness, as long as you can understand when you are being punished. But see, when it is discipline, I really dislike the word punishment. When you're being disciplined for what you've done, right? With the relationship that I have with God, I always tell people, I'm the kid that he's always scratching his head or going like this. Damn, big it on, Tony. What is you doing now, right? That's me and God, right? Because God go, Tony, I need to do this, and I go, no, right? Yeah, so that's me.
I tell people I get that Holy Spirit parental counseling. That's not who I saved you to be. And it's like, well, they started it. That's what I say too. And he's like, and I'm finishing it.
I'm telling you, I do the same thing. I'm like, the guy go, Tony, I go, it started it, and God's like, don't you do it. I go, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. He's like, I'm going to get you.
And you told me about your grandmother, and sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to send in Tony's grandmother with her spatula. And she go give you the church lady look. You do not want an angry black church grandma looking at
no. I'll let them tan your high, boy. Hey,
So,
I know you're busy, man. You know what I'm saying? I want to say again, you know, before, as we begin to wrap this up, brother, thank you again for being on the show. We got to
thank
do
you
more
for
of this.
and yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it has been good.
More often.
Yeah, most definitely. For everybody who has been tuning in, like I said, it's a very special edition today. You know, we're talking about a very controversial subject. And Sean, do me a favor, tell people how they can reach you.
The easiest way is my website for Starfish. It's starfishcolorado.org. So there is another Starfish down in the Springs. They work with Haitian orphanages, but I'm just starfishcolorado.org, www. And that's the best way to find my email. Tony can put you in touch with me. And thank you all for people listening. I know it's not an easy subject, and if somebody listening to us today experienced this, just remember it was never your fault. You are not the result of what somebody chose to do to you. That doesn't make you bad. You are loved, and you have a purpose. And everyone listening, everyone I encounter, you and I, we all bring something unique to the table that no one else in the world can bring.
So thank you. And for everybody tuning in out there, just for tuning into the live stream and just going to be listening to it later, man. You know, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us get this out there. We're just under 300 from 1,000 subscribers. Let's get out there. Let's get this message out there to as many people as we possibly can. Go check out Sean. His information will be in the description on the YouTube channel. So go there, check him out. Also, you know, don't forget to pick up the copy of Wretch, the book, which you can find on your website as well.
You can, or it's at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books, bookstores all over the world. So
I love that.
I got to sell more because you're a best-selling author now, and I got to catch up.
With that one right there. With that book right there. I was like, how did this happen, right? Please don't ask me because I don't know. For everybody else out there, you guys know who it is. This is Tony. And, you know, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the network as well. That's my other show that I do with IKS and Quaalude. You know, we every Tuesday and Thursday and every Sunday music review. All right. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. And also, as always, man, you know, don't forget to tell people that are in your life that you love them. Amen. Because you never know when that may be the last time that you see them. And with that being said, you guys know who it is. You know, have an amazing, blessed day. You know, see you guys in the next one. All right. Oh, by the way, happy Thanksgiving. Love you. We are out.